Have you ever felt like you were giving everything, bending over backward to keep someone's attention, only to feel invisible in return? Like no matter how much effort you pour in, they still take you for granted. You're not alone, and it's one of the most common traps in relationships, a cycle of chasing, hoping, and settling for breadcrumbs of connection. It's exhausting, isn't it? But here's the truth. They won't truly value you until you stop being so available. This isn't about manipulation or petty mind games. This is about understanding human nature, reclaiming your power, and embodying the principles of Stoicism, anchoring yourself in calm, self-assured control. You don't need to chase what's already yours. The problem: most of us have been taught that we need to constantly prove our worth, reach out first, or always make peace to keep relationships intact. This mindset strips away your power, leaving you emotionally drained and stuck in a one-sided dynamic. What if you could flip the script completely? What if, instead of chasing their attention, you could create the kind of absence that makes them question everything? Imagine them finally seeing how much they miss you, not because you manipulated them, but because you've rediscovered yourself. This is your breakthrough moment. In this guide, we'll uncover 7 transformative steps to make them miss you while building a better version of yourself. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about being so authentically you that your presence becomes unforgettable. Let's dive into the first, and perhaps the most powerful step. 1. Start with silence. The power of disappearing without a trace. Picture this. You're always the first to text, the first to check in, the first to smooth things over. But has that ever truly worked in your favor? When was the last time they reached out just because they missed hearing from you, not because you initiated? Stoicism teaches us to master our impulses and embrace the wisdom of restraint. Here's where silence becomes your most potent tool. Disappearing doesn't mean ghosting or throwing a tantrum. It's a deliberate act of reclaiming your space. When you pull back quietly, without explanations or drama, you allow the dynamic to shift. You let them feel the vacuum of your absence. And make no mistake, silence speaks louder than words. Why is this so effective? Humans naturally undervalue what is always available. Think about it. How often do we take the people who are always there for granted? It's only when they step back, when their presence is no longer a given, that we start to realize their value. By choosing silence, you shift from being someone they expect to someone they miss. Let's pause for a moment. Can you feel the tension in that silence? The weight of it? This is where the power lies. It's not easy to resist the urge to send a quick "hey, just checking in" text. You'll find yourself wondering, what if they forget about me? What if they don't care? But stop and ask yourself, why am I chasing someone who isn't chasing me? Why am I giving them control over my emotions? Silence forces them to confront the void you leave behind. At first, they might not notice. They'll brush it off, assuming you'll reach out like always. But as the days stretch on and their phone stays quiet, the realization starts to creep in. Why haven't they texted me? Did something change? That's when the shift begins. When you stop being the one who always bends, the dynamic flips. Suddenly, they're the one scrolling through your old messages, wondering if they missed a sign. Your absence becomes a question they can't ignore. And that's the secret. By disappearing without a trace, you're planting the seed of curiosity and regret. Here's the catch: you must stay strong. Stoicism reminds us to detach from the outcome and focus on what's within our control. This isn't about playing games or hoping they'll come crawling back. This is about reclaiming your energy and redirecting it toward yourself. Every time you feel the itch to break the silence, remind yourself of the bigger picture. I don't chase, I attract. Silence is uncomfortable, but it's also transformational. It gives you the space to reflect, to grow, and to rebuild your confidence. When you stop reaching out, you stop handing over your power. And when you stop handing over your power, you begin to realize just how valuable your energy is. But let's take this a step further. What will you do with all the time and energy you've regained by stepping back? This is your opportunity to turn inward and start investing in the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. And that's exactly where we'll go next. Ready to take the first step? Drop a comment below with the mantra, "I am done waiting." Let the world know you're reclaiming your power. Stay tuned for the next transformative step, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep this journey alive. 2. Reinvest your energy into yourself. What happens when you stop pouring your energy into someone who barely notices it? Where does all that time, thought, and effort go? The answer is simple. It goes back to you. And when you start reinvesting that energy into your own life, incredible things happen. You begin to glow not because you want them to notice, but because you're finally taking care of yourself. Stoicism teaches us that true power comes from mastering ourselves, not seeking control over others. This step is about shifting your focus inward and transforming your life into something magnetic. Let's be real. When you're caught in the cycle of chasing someone's attention, your mind becomes consumed with questions like, what are they doing? Why haven't they responded? Are they even thinking about me? It's draining, isn't it? But what if you could reclaim all that mental and emotional bandwidth? What if, instead of waiting by the phone, you started pouring that energy into things that make you feel alive? Here's the truth. When you stop chasing, you create a ripple effect. The energy you used to waste trying to keep their attention now fuels your personal growth. Every moment you spend building yourself up sends an unspoken message, not just to them, but to the world. I am enough. And the best part, it's not just a message, it's a reality you live and breathe. Start with the basics. What have you been neglecting while you've been focused on them? Is it your health, your hobbies, your friendships? Revisit those parts of your life that once brought you joy and let them flourish. Imagine hitting the gym, not because you want to look good for someone else, but because it feels amazing to take care of your body. Picture yourself diving into that hobby you've always loved or taking up something new that excites you. Each step forward isn't about proving anything to them, it's about proving something to yourself. When you reinvest in yourself, something incredible happens. You stop seeking validation from others because you found it within. You begin to radiate confidence, not the loud, flashy kind, but the quiet, unshakable assurance that comes from knowing you're on the right path. And let me tell you, that kind of confidence is magnetic. But this isn't just about staying busy or distracting yourself. It's about truly transforming your life. Ask yourself, what do I want my future to look like? Who do I want to become? Then take deliberate steps toward that vision. The time you spent waiting for their text, use it to start that project you've been dreaming about. The energy you wasted wondering if they cared, pour it into building the life you've always wanted. As you grow, you'll notice a shift, not just in how you see yourself, but in how others see you too. When you focus on your own happiness and growth, you become someone people are drawn to. And yes, they'll notice. They'll see the glow up, the confidence, the excitement in your life, and they'll wonder, what changed? But here's the kicker. It won't even matter to you anymore, because you'll be too busy thriving. Of course, there will be moments when the old habits creep in. You might feel tempted to check their social media or wonder if they've noticed how much you've changed. But here's where Stoicism comes in again. Stay grounded in your purpose. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your growth, your mindset. Every time you feel that pull to look back, remind yourself, I build for me. Reinvesting in yourself isn't just empowering, it's freeing. It's the ultimate act of self-love, and it shifts the entire dynamic. You're no longer the person waiting in the wings, hoping for their attention. You've become the person living their best life, unapologetically. So what will you do with this newfound energy? Will you take that class you've been curious about? Start a side hustle. Deepen your relationships with people who uplift you. The possibilities are endless, and the choice is yours. Remember, every step you take toward your own growth is a step away from the cycle of chasing and waiting. Now let's turn it back to you. Are you ready to reclaim your energy? To reinvest in the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. If this resonates with you, go ahead and like this video and comment number 1 below. Let us know you're stepping into your power. And if you're ready to keep building this unstoppable version of yourself, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. The glow up starts here. Let's see how far you can go. 3. Control your online presence to create mystery. In today's world, our online presence often speaks louder than our words. Social media has become a window into our lives, offering glimpses of who we are and what we're up to. But here's the catch. When people have unlimited access to your world, they start taking you for granted. If you want them to feel your absence, you need to control your digital presence intentionally and masterfully. Let's start with this question. What do they see when they scroll through your social media? Do they see someone who's always posting, always sharing every detail, always online? Or do they see someone who's unpredictable, a little mysterious, and hard to read? The more accessible and predictable you are, the less intriguing you become. That's human nature. We crave what we can't fully understand, and when someone becomes an open book, the curiosity fades. To make them feel your absence, you need to create a deliberate digital silence. This doesn't mean deleting your accounts or blocking them outright. Those moves can come across as too dramatic and obvious. Instead, you slip into the background, reducing your online activity in a subtle, controlled way. You create just enough mystery to leave them wondering what's going on with you. Think about it. The moment someone loses easy access to you, their first instinct is to check your social media. They'll scroll through your feed, hoping to find clues about what you're doing, who you're with, and whether you're missing them as much as they're missing you. But when they find nothing, no posts, no updates, no clues, it creates a vacuum. That vacuum becomes a question, and that question becomes an obsession. Here's where the magic happens. When you control your online presence, you control the narrative. By choosing what to share and what to withhold, you send a powerful message, not just to them, but to yourself as well. You're telling the world that your life isn't a public story for others to follow. You're reminding them that your energy, your time, and your thoughts are precious, and not everyone gets free access to them. But let's dig deeper. What does this digital silence look like in practice? First, it's about scaling back your activity. If you're someone who posts daily, cut it down to once every few days or even less. If you're always sharing detailed captions, switch to something vague and cryptic. A scenic photo with a caption like "On to new things" leaves much more room for curiosity than a detailed update about your day. The goal here isn't to completely disappear, but to become less predictable. Predictability is the enemy of intrigue. If they know exactly when and what you'll post, they'll stop paying attention. But if your presence becomes sporadic and your posts leave more questions than answers, they'll find themselves checking your profile more often, hoping for a glimpse of what's going on. And then there's the art of timing. When you do post, make it count. Instead of flooding your feed with updates, focus on quality over quantity. A single well-timed photo or story can have a much greater impact than a constant stream of content. For example, a casual photo of you laughing with friends or exploring a new place can speak volumes without saying much at all. It's not about showing off, it's about showing that your life is moving forward, with or without them. Here's the twist. This isn't about making them jealous or playing games. It's about reclaiming your power and reminding yourself that you don't need external validation to feel whole. When you stop oversharing, you shift the focus back to yourself. You start living for you, not for likes, comments, or their attention. And that shift is where your confidence grows. But what about the temptation to overshare? It's so easy to fall into the trap of using social media to vent, seek validation, or prove a point. Maybe you want to post something to show them you're doing fine, or even better, thriving without them. Resist that urge. Oversharing gives away your power. It hands them the narrative and allows them to interpret your life on their terms. Instead, let your absence speak for itself. Imagine this. They open their phone, scroll through their feed, and realize your name hasn't appeared in days, maybe weeks. They check your stories only to find they're empty. That silence. It's louder than any post could ever be. It forces them to sit with the questions they're too afraid to ask out loud. Why haven't you posted? Have you moved on? Are you seeing someone new? And here's the beauty of it. The less they know, the more they'll obsess. This brings us to the concept of scarcity. When something becomes scarce, its perceived value increases. By reducing your online presence, you're creating scarcity around yourself. You're reminding them that your energy and attention are not infinite resources. This scarcity doesn't just make them miss you, it makes them reevaluate how much they took you for granted. But let's take this a step further. Controlling your online presence also means controlling how you react to their attempts to reach out. Maybe they'll start liking your old posts, dropping comments, or sending casual messages to test the waters. This is where you need to stay grounded. A quick reply or overly enthusiastic reaction gives away your power. Instead, keep it cool and understated. Remember, you're not ignoring them, you're showing that your life doesn't revolve around them anymore. And here's where Stoicism comes into play. The principles of Stoicism remind us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. You can't control how they feel or whether they miss you, but you can control how you present yourself, both online and offline. By taking charge of your digital presence, you're not just shifting the dynamic with them, you're shifting the dynamic within yourself. As you step back from oversharing and start living more intentionally, you'll notice something remarkable. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more connected to your own journey. You'll realize that you don't need to broadcast your every move to feel validated. Your energy is precious, and protecting it is an act of self-love. Now, take a moment to reflect. What does my online presence say about me? Am I using it as a tool for growth and connection, or am I using it to seek approval from others? If it's the latter, it's time to make a change. Start today. Scale back your activity, post with purpose, and let your life unfold naturally. The less they know, the more they'll wonder, and the more you'll rediscover the power of living for yourself. When they finally realize they've lost access to the version of you they once took for granted, it'll hit them harder than you can imagine. But by then, you'll have already moved on. Not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you found something far more valuable: your own peace. 4. Embrace delayed responses to regain control. Let's face it, we've all been there. You see their message pop up and your heart races. Without thinking, you grab your phone and start typing a reply as if your world depends on it. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what message does this send? When you respond instantly every time, you're giving away one of your most valuable assets, your time. And when something is too easily available, it loses its value. Delayed responses might seem like a small act, but they hold incredible power. It's not just about making them wait, it's about shifting the entire dynamic. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about taking back control of your time and energy, and in the process, showing them that your world doesn't revolve around their every text. Why is this so effective? Think about anticipation. Humans crave what isn't guaranteed. When they send you a message and you don't reply right away, it creates space. That space is where curiosity lives. It forces them to sit with the silence, to wonder why you haven't responded yet. Did you miss the message? Are you busy? Or are you simply not as available as they thought? But let's dig deeper. Delayed responses aren't just about making them wonder. They're about reinforcing your worth. When you respond too quickly, you signal that their time and attention are more important than yours. But when you take your time, you send a different message. I have a life, and I'm not dropping everything just because you decided to reach out. This isn't easy. In fact, it might feel unnatural at first. You'll feel that familiar urge to reply the second their message lights up your phone. You might even think, what if they think I'm ignoring them? But let's flip that question around. What if they start respecting your time because you've shown them it's valuable? Imagine this scenario. They send you a text, fully expecting the usual quick reply. But instead, an hour passes. Then 2. Maybe even a full day. That silence. It's not just empty space. It's a powerful reminder that you're not at their beck and call. And as the hours tick by, their thoughts begin to spiral. Why haven't you replied? Are you with someone else? Have they lost their hold on you? This is where delayed responses create a shift in the dynamic. Suddenly, they're the ones waiting, wondering, and questioning. And when they finally do hear from you, your words carry more weight, not because they're complicated or dramatic, but because they're deliberate. A simple, casual reply like, "Hey, just saw this, what's up?" sends a clear message. You're in control. But let's be clear. This isn't about ignoring people or being rude. It's about setting boundaries. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. And one of the things you can always control is your response time. By choosing when and how to engage, you're reclaiming your power and protecting your energy. And here's the beauty of it. This shift isn't just about them. It's about you. Every time you resist the urge to reply instantly, you're teaching yourself patience and self-restraint. You're proving to yourself that you don't need to seek their validation to feel whole. You're reminding yourself that your time is precious and should be spent intentionally. Let's take a moment to ask an important question. What's driving your need to respond immediately? Is it fear of losing their interest, a habit of always putting others first, or maybe a desire to prove your value? Whatever it is, it's time to let go of those fears. They don't serve you anymore. Delayed responses give you space to reflect. They allow you to step back, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this message even worth my time? Sometimes you'll realize that it's not, and that's okay. You don't owe anyone an immediate reply. Your time is yours to manage, and the people who truly value you will respect that. But here's where the challenge lies. Consistency. It's easy to delay your response once or twice, but to truly shift the dynamic, you need to make it a habit. Every time they reach out, resist the urge to drop everything. Give yourself the time and space to decide how and if you want to respond. And let's not forget about the double text scenario. You know the one, they send a follow-up message when you don't reply fast enough. Maybe it's a casual "hey, just checking in," or something more pointed like "did you get my message?" This is where the real test begins. Will you cave and reply right away, or will you hold your ground? Here's the truth. The longer you make them wait, the more they'll start to question their own behavior. They'll begin to wonder if they've underestimated you, if they've taken you for granted. And that questioning is where the shift happens. It's not about punishing them, it's about showing them that your time and attention are privileges, not guarantees. But delayed responses aren't just for their benefit, they're for yours too. When you stop reacting impulsively, you create space for yourself to think, reflect, and prioritize what truly matters. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's timeline. You're living on your terms, and that freedom is priceless. Now let's circle back to you. How would it feel to take back control of your time? To stop living in reactive mode and start being intentional about your energy. This isn't just a shift in how they see you. It's a shift in how you see yourself. And that's where the real transformation begins. If this resonates with you, it's time to take action. The next time they reach out, pause, take a breath. Remind yourself, I am in control. And when you're ready to reply, do so with purpose and confidence. You're not playing hard to get, you're showing that you're already hard to get, and that makes all the difference. If you're ready to embrace this step, show your support by liking this video and commenting #1 below. Let us know you're reclaiming your time and energy. And don't forget to subscribe for more transformative steps on your journey. This is your moment to rise, don't miss it. 5. Become the unpredictable wild card. Predictability is comforting, but it's also boring. When people can predict your every move, every response, every habit, they stop paying attention. Familiarity breeds complacency, and complacency is the enemy of attraction. If you've always been the one to text first, the one to apologize, or the one to adjust your plans for them, it's time to disrupt that pattern. You need to become the wild card, someone they can't easily figure out, someone who keeps them guessing. Unpredictability isn't about chaos or erratic behavior, it's about creating intrigue. Imagine reading a book where you know every plot twist before it happens. How long would you stay interested? Relationships work the same way. When you always respond the same way, show up the same way, and act the same way, you become a routine. And routines, no matter how comforting, are forgettable. Becoming unpredictable doesn't mean abandoning your values or authenticity. It means breaking free from patterns that no longer serve you. If you've always been the one to accommodate their schedule, start prioritizing your own. If you've always answered their text immediately, let them wait. If you've always said yes to their plans, sometimes say no without giving a lengthy explanation. These subtle shifts send a clear message. You are not their predictable fallback. But let's dig deeper into what this means for you. Stoicism teaches us the value of autonomy, of living according to our principles and not letting external circumstances dictate our actions. When you embrace unpredictability, you're reclaiming your autonomy. You're showing that your life isn't an open book for anyone to skim through at their leisure. Instead, it's a dynamic story, one they're not guaranteed a part of. Consider this. What habits of yours have become too predictable? Do they always know you'll be available when they need you? Do they expect you to agree to their plans without hesitation? Do they assume you'll always reach out first when there's a rift? If the answer is yes, it's time to flip the script. Start small. The next time they reach out, take longer than usual to reply, or don't reply at all if it's not necessary. If they suggest meeting up, politely decline without explaining why. If you usually post updates on social media regularly, go silent for a while. These changes don't need to be dramatic or confrontational, they just need to disrupt the pattern enough to make them notice. Here's where the transformation happens. Unpredictability creates tension and tension breeds interest. When they can't anticipate your next move, they'll spend more time thinking about you. They'll wonder, why did they say no? Are they seeing someone else? Have I lost their interest? That tension draws them in, not because you're playing games, but because you've become a puzzle they're suddenly eager to solve. But let's be clear, this isn't about being cold or distant. It's about balance. You're not withdrawing to punish them or to make them chase you. You're withdrawing to reclaim your energy and reframe the relationship dynamic. Unpredictability doesn't mean shutting them out entirely. It means showing them that your life is full and vibrant, with or without their presence. Think of it this way. Every time you act in a way they don't expect, you're reminding them that they don't own your time, your energy, or your choices. You're showing them that you're a dynamic, evolving individual, not a constant, unchanging fixture in their life. And that's where the intrigue begins. Here's an example. If they're used to you always being available for a last-minute call or hangout, what happens when you politely decline? Suddenly, they're left wondering what you're doing instead. If they're accustomed to you texting every morning, how do they feel when that routine disappears? It's in these small, unexpected changes that they start to miss what they once took for granted. But here's the catch. Unpredictability only works when it's authentic. If you're forcing yourself to act out of character, they'll sense it, and the dynamic will feel like a game. That's not the goal. The goal is to align your actions with your values and priorities, even if it disrupts their expectations. If you genuinely don't feel like answering their text right away, don't. If you have other plans when they want to meet, keep them. This isn't about pretending to be busy. It's about genuinely living your life. Stoicism reminds us to stay grounded in our purpose and unaffected by external opinions. Becoming unpredictable isn't about seeking their approval or making them chase you. It's about creating a life so full and rich that their presence becomes a choice, not a necessity. It's about prioritizing yourself in a way that naturally shifts the power dynamic. Let's talk about the ripple effect. When you start to embrace unpredictability, you'll notice changes not just in how they see you, but in how you see yourself. You'll feel less pressure to meet their expectations and more freedom to follow your own path. You'll stop seeking validation from their reactions and start finding it within. And as your confidence grows, so does your appeal. But what happens when they try to test the waters? Maybe they'll send a casual message to see if you're still hooked. Maybe they'll bring up old memories to draw you back in. This is where your commitment to unpredictability gets tested. Will you fall back into old patterns, or will you stay true to your newfound independence? Here's the key. Unpredictability doesn't mean you can't engage. It just means you do so on your terms. If you feel like replying, reply. If you don't, don't. The power lies in making deliberate choices rather than reactive ones. Every time you act with intention, you're reinforcing the message that you're in control of your life. So ask yourself, what patterns do I need to break? How can I introduce more unpredictability into my interactions? What would it look like to live for myself rather than for someone else's expectations? The answers to these questions are your roadmap to becoming the wild card. And here's the truth. Unpredictability isn't just about making them miss you. It's about making them see you in a whole new light. When you break free from predictability, you become someone worth noticing, someone worth valuing, someone they can't take for granted. And that's the kind of person who doesn't just attract attention, they command respect. 6. Hold the line. No early returns. Imagine this. They finally reach out. Maybe it's a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" Or a nostalgic, "I was just thinking about that time we" message. And just like that, your heart skips a beat. You've been waiting for this moment, right? It's tempting, so tempting, to reply immediately, to dive back into the dynamic you once knew. But here's where the real test begins. Will you hold the line, or will you cave too soon? Holding the line is perhaps the hardest, yet most crucial, step in this entire process. It's the moment where all your effort and restraint come into play. You've spent time reclaiming your power, reinvesting in yourself, and breaking patterns of predictability. I don't throw it all away for the instant gratification of a quick reply. Stoicism teaches us to value patience and perspective, and this step requires both. When they reach out, their message might feel like validation, like proof that your absence worked. But here's the truth. If you respond too quickly, too eagerly, you risk resetting the dynamic back to where it was before. They'll fall into the same patterns, assuming you're always there, always ready to engage on their terms. Holding the line means standing firm and letting them feel the full weight of your absence before you let them back in. Why is this so important? Because people don't change overnight. That first message is often a test, not a declaration of regret, but a way to gauge if you're still waiting in the wings. If you respond immediately, you confirm their suspicion. You've been waiting for them all along. But if you pause, if you let the silence linger, you send a different message. I've moved forward, and I'm not rushing back. Think about it. What does it say about your self-worth if you drop everything the second they decide to show up? It says that their time and attention are more valuable than yours. But when you hold the line, you're showing that your boundaries matter. You're saying, without words, "I'm not here to play by your rules anymore." This doesn't mean ignoring them forever. It means responding deliberately, on your terms, when the time feels right. And when you do reply, keep it light and neutral. A simple, "Hey, I've been good. How about you?" is enough. You don't owe them a deep dive into your life, nor do you need to rehash the past. Keep the tone casual and detached. Remember, the goal isn't to punish them, it's to protect the progress you've made. But let's address the elephant in the room, the temptation. Holding the line is hard. When you see their message, it's natural to feel a rush of excitement. After all, this is what you've been hoping for. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, what do I really want? Do I want a temporary fix, or do I want a lasting change? The answer to that question will guide your next move. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the things we can control. And in this moment, the one thing you control is your response. You can't force them to understand your worth, but you can show them through your actions. Every time you resist the urge to reply too soon, you're reinforcing your value, not just to them, but to yourself. Here's the reality. When someone feels your absence, it's not an instant transformation. It takes time for the weight of that void to sink in. They need to sit with the discomfort of not having you around. They need to reflect on the ways they may have taken you for granted. And if you respond too quickly, you interrupt that process. You rob them of the opportunity to truly feel the loss. So what do you do instead? You wait. Not out of spite, but out of strength. Let their message linger for a while, an hour, a day, maybe even longer. Use that time to reflect on your own progress. Remind yourself of all the growth you've achieved since stepping back. This isn't about playing hard to get, it's about honoring the boundaries you've worked so hard to establish. When you finally do reply, keep it measured. Avoid pouring your heart out or diving into old patterns. Instead, focus on maintaining your independence and self-respect. If they're serious about reconnecting, they'll put in the effort to show it. And if they're not, that's their loss, not yours. But let's be clear, holding the line doesn't mean you're waiting around for them. It means you're staying true to yourself, regardless of what they do. This is about building a foundation of self-worth that doesn't crumble at the first sign of attention. It's about proving to yourself that you're capable of standing firm, even in the face of temptation. Here's where the transformation happens. When you hold the line, you shift the power dynamic. You're no longer chasing them or waiting for their approval. Instead, you're living your life on your terms, and they're the ones trying to figure out how to fit back into it. This isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's about showing that you value yourself enough to demand better. So how do you stay strong in the face of temptation? By focusing on what matters most: your growth, your goals, and your happiness. Every time you resist the urge to reply too quickly, you're reinforcing your commitment to yourself. You're proving that you don't need their attention to feel whole. Let's end with a simple mantra. I hold the line. Say it to yourself whenever you feel the pull to cave in. Let it remind you of the progress you've made and the power you've reclaimed. This isn't about them, it's about you. If this resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and comment number 1 below. Let us know you're holding the line and reclaiming your power. And if you're ready for more transformative insights, hit subscribe so you never miss a step in this journey. Your breakthrough is just beginning. 7. End with empowerment. Claim your worth and move forward. This is it, the moment everything comes full circle. After reclaiming your power, rechanneling your energy, breaking predictable patterns, and holding firm to your boundaries, you find yourself standing on solid ground. You've built something stronger than a fleeting relationship dynamic. You've built yourself. And in doing so, you've shifted the entire narrative, not just with them, but within your own life. So now the question becomes, what's next? The answer is simple. You move forward. You take all the energy you once gave so freely and invest it into creating the life you've always wanted. You embrace the principles of Stoicism, detachment from external output, and a focus on inner strength, and let them guide you as you chart a path that's uniquely your own. The process you've been through has revealed a powerful truth. Your worth was never up for debate. It was only misunderstood by them and perhaps even by you. But now you see it clearly. You've shifted from seeking validation outside yourself to recognizing that everything you need has been within you all along. This isn't about proving a point or getting the last word. It's not about waiting for them to regret losing you, although that moment may come. It's about knowing deep down that your life is richer, fuller, and brighter because you've chosen to prioritize your growth over their approval. Let's reflect on the journey. You started by stepping back, creating a silence that forced them to confront your absence. You redirected your energy into yourself, transforming the way you live and how you feel about who you are. You took control of your digital presence, crafting a sense of mystery that left them wondering. You broke free from predictability, becoming someone dynamic and hard to forget. And you held the line, resisting the urge to fall back into old patterns. Now you're here, standing taller, more confident, and more grounded than ever. What does this new chapter look like? It's one where your happiness isn't tied to someone else's attention. It's where your self-worth isn't measured by their text messages or social media likes. It's a chapter where you stop chasing and start attracting not just people, but opportunities, connections, and experiences that align with your highest self. But here's the key. Moving forward doesn't mean shutting yourself off from others. It's not about building walls or becoming invulnerable. Stoicism isn't about emotional detachment, it's about emotional mastery. You can engage with others, love deeply, and connect meaningfully while still maintaining your independence and self-respect. The difference is that now you approach relationships from a place of strength, not scarcity. Let's consider what this means for your future relationships. Whether it's with the person who took you for granted or someone entirely new, the dynamic will be different because you are different. You've set a standard for how you deserve to be treated, and you're no longer willing to settle for less. This doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or moments of doubt. It means you now have the tools to navigate them with grace and resilience. I think about the people who will be drawn to this new version of you. They won't just be intrigued by your confidence or magnetized by your independence. They'll respect you for it. They'll see your value not because you've made them miss you, but because you've made yourself undeniable. And those who can't meet your standard, they'll fall away, leaving room for relationships that uplift and inspire you. But let's not forget the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. This process has been as much about them realizing your worth as it has been about you realizing your own. You've done the hard work of turning inward, facing your fears, and breaking free from patterns that no longer serve you. That's no small feat. So as you step into this new chapter, ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to create? The answer doesn't have to be grand or perfect. It just needs to be authentic to you. Maybe it's pursuing a passion you've always put off. Maybe it's strengthening your connections with people who truly value you. Or maybe it's simply waking up every day with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're enough. Remember this. The person you've become through this process isn't just stronger, they're freer. Freer to love, freer to grow, freer to live without the weight of seeking validation from anyone else. That freedom is your greatest victory. It's what makes you magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because it's impossible not to notice someone who radiates authenticity and self-assurance. And what about them? Will they notice? Will they regret taking you for granted? Perhaps. Perhaps not. But by the time they do, it won't matter. You'll be too busy living a life you love, surrounded by people who see your value from the start. That's the ultimate power move, not revenge, but growth. Not playing games, but building something real. As we bring this journey to a close, let's anchor it in a simple truth. You are your greatest investment. Every moment you've spent rediscovering your worth has been worth it. Every time you resisted the urge to chase, every time you chose to focus on yourself instead of them, you were building the foundation for a life that's richer, fuller, and more fulfilling than you ever imagined. This isn't just the end of a chapter, it's the beginning of a new one. A chapter where you live with purpose, love with strength, and move forward with unwavering confidence. A chapter where you no longer wait for others to see your worth, because you see it for yourself. This is your moment, the moment you stop waiting, stop chasing, and start living life on your terms. You've reclaimed your power, rebuilt your confidence, and created a foundation for a future that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. That's not just growth, it's transformation. By embracing these steps, you've not only shifted how they see you, but more importantly, how you see yourself. You've proven that you are capable of setting boundaries, prioritizing your energy, and living authentically. You've become the kind of person who commands respect, not because you demand it, but because your presence makes it impossible to ignore. But remember, this journey isn't just about them, it's about you. They may or may not recognize what they've lost, but that's no longer your concern. What matters is that you've found yourself. You've discovered the strength, resilience, and worth that were always there, waiting for you to claim them. Now, the power is in your hands. You get to decide who gets access to your energy, your time, and your heart. And those decisions will no longer be driven by fear or insecurity, but by a deep understanding of your own value. That's the beauty of this journey. It's not about holding on to the past. It's about stepping boldly into the future. So what's next? Keep building, keep growing. Keep living a life that reflects the unstoppable, self-assured person you've become. Every step you take toward your goals, every moment you spend cultivating your happiness, you're showing the world and yourself that you are enough. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a number 1 in the comments to declare that you're done waiting. And if you're ready to continue building this unstoppable version of yourself, make sure to subscribe for more insights, guidance, and inspiration. The days of chasing are over. Now it's your time to rise. Stay strong, stay focused, and never forget. Your worth was never up for debate. It was only waiting for you to see it. You've got this. Let's move forward together.